Hi, my name is Caitlin Andersen, and my role at Crimson is a postgraduate strategist. 15 years ago, as a favor to family and friends, I began helping them apply to college, win scholarships, and write essays. The victory moments that we shared when I had a brother get into school with a scholarship or my best friend improved her writing score from a C to an A were so satisfying that I realized this is my life's passion. After graduating from Oxford, I found Crimson and I began doing this full time. I've helped students from all over the world gain admission to the top business schools in the US, UK, and Europe. But what is most fulfilling for me is helping my clients gain access to opportunities meant for them that will change the trajectory of their careers and lives. When I begin working with you, my first step is to help clarify your career goals and personal values, because it's very important to present yourself as a real person. So I help you get very clear about answering the questions: what are your specific short-term and long-term goals? What personal attachment do you have to those goals? And what can you do now to move toward those goals? Once my students gain clarity in their responses to these questions, then selecting schools, filling out the CV, writing essays, filling in applications, interviewing, it all becomes very straightforward. And I help my students through each one of these steps of the graduate school application process. The main goal of an interview is for your interviewer to see you as a human with a unique story and great potential. My role as a consultant is to get to know you well enough to help you tell your story in a compelling way. There are many general guidelines for preparing for an interview, but firstly, if you know the name of your interviewer, then you need to research that individual. So you should know everything you can about their academic history, their professional working experience, and any volunteer work that they do. If they've written a book, you should read it. If they've published journal articles, you should read those. The more that you know about your interviewer, the more smoothly it will go and the better off you will be. Rehearse your stories and elevator pitch. You should know everything on your CV and be able to speak fluently about it. Then you need to rehearse stories that are about specific projects and situations that you can use to adapt to a range of behavioral questions. Finally, very importantly, you should know everything you can about the school and the program that you're applying to. So this means you need to know all of the courses by name that you would be taking when you attend that program. You should know the structure of the program. So how many core classes versus how many electives will you take? You should also know all about the faculty at the business school. So research their bios, know what they've researched and who you may want to connect with when you're there. You should also know how old the program is and why it was created. I can tell you that a lot of interviewees get stuck when they don't have a wealth of knowledge about the school and the program that they're applying to. The length of time needed for preparation depends on how much experience you have interviewing. If you have a lot of experience interviewing, then preparation becomes more about getting to know who your interviewer is and then getting your story straight. If you have less experience interviewing, then it's most important to practice a lot of mock interviews and understand the process itself. So if you're someone that has a lot of interviewing experience, I usually recommend between 5 to 8 hours of preparation. If you have less experience, then I would recommend a minimum of 15 hours. Common interview questions are: tell me about yourself. Why our school? Why this program? Why now? What are your short-term and long-term goals? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Tell me about a time when you managed a conflict. Tell me about a time when you failed. How do you think that you will contribute to your class? Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Do you have any questions for me? One of the biggest pitfalls that people run into in interviews is trying to act like they know more than they do. I think this happens because we get worried that we don't know enough, and so then we try to cram in all these ideas into our brain that we aren't really qualified to be talking about. The risky part of that is that you may be speaking with an expert, and it takes just a minute or two for an expert to understand if someone knows what they're talking about. So in a situation like that, I would recommend that you just say that you don't know. You could say, that's a great question. I don't have an answer for you, but I will look into it and get back to you. And this is actually far more respectable of an answer if you really don't know how to answer. Interviewers are looking for evidence that you can perform well in their program and for people with unique qualities. So you need to first demonstrate that you can perform well, and then second, show what makes you special. So in general, interviewers are looking for people who are professional yet friendly and open. They want people who have passion and a plan. So talk openly about your passion. And this is the human side of you that the interviewers want to get to know better. Additionally, interviewers want to admit the go-getters of the world. So you should be clear and direct in your answers. And if you don't know what your point is, just wait and take the time to figure it out before answering, because how will the interviewer get your point if you don't know what it is? Schools interview in different ways. I'll talk about 3 MBA programs so that you can best compare them. I'll use Harvard, Stanford, and Oxford. Harvard uses a rapid-fire interview format combining background, behavioral, and technical questions about your industry and your job. The difficulty of the Harvard interview is the variety of topics in their questions. So you may have your interviewer jump from, how did you find the MBA application process, to how would your 5 closest friends describe you and why? Stanford's interview is fully behavioral and far more friendly in nature than most of the top business schools. They really dig down into your experiences to understand how you think and what motivates you. So explaining your thought process becomes very important. Oxford's interview ranges in style based on the interviewer and your background. For example, my interviewer asked me only background and behavioral questions and no technical or critical reasoning questions, whereas some of my Oxford classmates who were in heavy quant fields like statistics were asked mostly technical questions. One memorable interview moment was my Oxford interview. This was pre-COVID, so I flew out to England to interview in person. Before my interview, I met with 2 Oxford professors to get their feedback on the program and the interviewing process, and this made all the difference. I interviewed with the deputy dean who had a background in humanities and who was from England. So when he asked me the question, what do you think of the city of Oxford and would you accept an offer if made, I used that opportunity to talk about my personal alignment with the English culture. And that allowed me to create a very strong personal connection with him, which was critical to the final decision they made. When I interviewed with a private equity firm in New York City to be the COO of a new venture capital vehicle, I was in the meeting with the founder and I realized that as much as he was interviewing me, I was interviewing him. I was trying to understand, could I get behind this company? Could I invest in it? And the lesson I learned was that the power in an interview is actually far more balanced than we are led to believe. And this was a significant mental shift that I made and I help my clients now make if they haven't already. Because in the graduate school experience, when you're interviewing, they're trying to understand, are you a good fit for their program? But you're trying to decide whether you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their program at their school. So in this way, the power is very balanced. Additional interview advice I would give is to be personal, vulnerable, and real. You may have to expose things about yourself that you think make you unlikable, but those are the things that help your interviewer to connect with you. Next, I always give advice to talk to as many people as possible, especially alumni of the program. Be confident in your abilities. You've already made it this far through the application process, so they see that you are qualified enough to be there, and now it's just about them understanding, are you someone that they want to align their brand with? Finally, remember, every opportunity meant for you will come through. There's no guesswork there. So if you can accept that belief, you will be far more relaxed in the interviewing process. And who knows, you may end up actually enjoying it. I look forward to hearing your unique story and supporting you through the graduate school application process. I wish you every success.